I've been dropped into a novel. Not just any novel, but a trashy, trope-filled potboiler called My Two Childhood Sweethearts Went Crazy After I Left. In this world, I'm Ethan Thorne, the sole heir to the Thorne fortune. And Chloe Sullivan and Scarlett Reed are the two childhood sweethearts who grew up attached to my hip. Then there's the fourth key player about to make his grand entrance, Leo Miller, the son of Chloe's chauffeur, the one who will change everything. In the original story, Chloe and Scarlett were completely devoted to me. They'd have given me the moon and stars. But that all changed after Chloe's driver got into an accident, saving their lives. When he recommended his own son to take over the job, Ethan's world was turned upside down. The two girls suddenly shifted all their attention to the driver's son, Leo. And it was like they did it on purpose. The more I was around, the nicer they were to him. The original Ethan, heartbroken, eventually left town. Only then did the girls realize they'd taken things too far and lost their minds. The whole thing started because when Leo first arrived, they were incredibly warm to him. After all, his father was seriously injured saving them. But then they noticed something unexpected, a flicker of jealousy on Ethan's face. For years, they had been the ones chasing Ethan. In that moment, they felt a thrill, a confirmation that they were just as important to him as he was to them. So, they doubled down, lavishing attention on Leo. The original Ethan argued with them, pleaded with them. But the more he protested, the more they flaunted their kindness to Leo, convinced it was proof of how much Ethan cared. In the end, he left and they broke. As the plot summary scrolled through my mind like a phantom teleprompter, a wicked smile spread across my face. What a joke. I took a deep breath, forcing down the surge of emotion. I looked at the handsome, sharp-featured face in the mirror and nodded in satisfaction. Now that I'm here, this script gets a rewrite. My rewrite. Mr. Miller, you don't have to come in person. Your injury is still healing. Chloe's voice, tinged with a playful teasing, drifted up from downstairs. Your son isn't a stranger. It's not like we're going to bully him if he comes by himself. Her voice snapped me back to the present. Today, this was the day Leo's father brought him over. The day the original Ethan's fate began its downward spiral. I calmly changed into a set of well-tailored loungewear and deliberately slowed my pace, descending the sweeping staircase as if I'd just woken up, a lazy grace in my movements. Chloe and Scarlett were flanking the sofa. They noticed me coming down. Chloe, dressed in a moonlight white dress that perfectly suited her usual cool goddess vibe, was forcing a gentle tone into her voice. Mr. Miller, please don't worry. You were hurt protecting me. The Sullivan family will never forget that debt. She leaned forward slightly, her posture deferential. Scarlett, a firecracker in a vibrant red dress, was her complete opposite. Before Chloe could finish, she jumped in with a bright smile, her eyes fixed on the boy standing with his head bowed next to Mr. Miller. Exactly. Leo, right? From now on, just think of this as your home. If you need anything, just tell us. We'll treat you like our own little brother. Her voice was crisp, her smile dazzling, but her gaze kept darting toward the staircase where I stood. In the middle of the sofa sat a man of about 50, wearing the Thorne family driver's uniform, his arm in a thick cast. He wore a simple, honest smile. Standing beside him was the boy, Leo, probably around 20. He was dressed in a faded, ill-fitting old t-shirt, his shoulders slightly hunched. He kept his head low, nervously twisting his fingers together. The moment my eyes landed on him, he flickered his gaze upward. It was a quick, greedy glance that swept over the opulent mansion before settling on Chloe and Scarlett. Mr. Miller was clearly moved by the two heiresses' promises. He nudged his son with his good arm. Quick, Leo, thank the young ladies. You be good now. You stick close to them and repay their kindness. Only then did Leo timidly raise his head, revealing a delicate face artfully etched with fear. His voice was soft and thin. Thank you, Chloe. Scarlett. His eyes darted away, landing on me. And this is... All eyes turned to me. I could see a trace of anxiety in Chloe's expression. Scarlett simply raised an eyebrow, as if waiting for the show to begin. Expressionless, I walked straight to the dining table in the corner and began eating the breakfast our cook, Maria, had prepared, completely at ease. Wow, Maria, your skills have improved again, I said to no one in particular, acting as if they didn't exist. 20 minutes later, I finished my meal and noticed they were all still staring at me. No one had spoken a word the entire time. I acted as if I'd just noticed the crowd in the living room. My gaze fell impassively on Mr. Miller's cast. Mr. Miller, you're here. Is the arm healing up? If you need anything, just let Mr. Davis, the house manager, know. I didn't even glance at Leo. In my mind, he was already a dead man. And who bothers saying hello to a corpse? He could put on his whole pitiful, fragile act, but I knew the full story. I knew exactly what kind of person he was. In the world I was about to create, people like him met very ugly ends. The air froze. The warm, comforting words Chloe had prepared died in her throat. The smile on Scarlett's face stiffened, replaced by a flicker of disbelief. Mr. Miller's gratitude turned to awkwardness, and Leo's carefully crafted performance, designed to win sympathy and weather the scorn of a rich young master, was rendered completely useless. The expressions on their faces were priceless, but I wasn't in the mood to appreciate the spectacle. I turned and went back to my room. You want to play games of misdirection? Fine, I muttered to myself. I'll just play hard to get. The core of my strategy was indifference, utter and complete disregard. I would take the attention they took for granted and suck it out of the room like air from a vacuum. I let them feel what it was like to be ignored, and then I'd add a little something extra to give them a real sense of crisis. In the days that followed, no matter how much they doted on Leo, I acted as if I didn't see a thing. I was busy with my own affairs. The thought of one day managing a corporate empire this massive was stressful enough. I had too much to do. Today, I was in the middle of enjoying a massive lobster prepared by Maria when the three of them walked in, laughing and chatting. The moment Scarlett saw me eating, her cheerful expression vanished, replaced by a cold glare. Ethan, Leo, said he's never been horseback riding, so we decided to take him to our stables. I heard they just got a few nice thoroughbreds. If you want to see them, I guess we could take you along. Crack! I snapped the lobster claw in half and took a huge bite. I'll pass on the thoroughbreds. Let me know when you get a unicorn. Scarlett was stunned into silence. I had never once refused an invitation from her. Chloe, watching from the side, had an idea. She deliberately raised her voice, turning to Leo, who was trying on a pair of limited edition Jordans. Hey Leo, have you seen that new movie, The Last Photograph? I heard everyone who's seen it says it's amazing. Leo put down the sneaker, a fawning smile on his face. Not yet, Chloe. I really want to, but it's no fun going alone. Why would you go alone? Scarlett, and I will go with you. How about that? Scarlett chimed in. Though she was talking to Leo, the corner of her eye was fixed on me. Seeing that I had absolutely no intention of begging to join them, she added, in a tone dripping with charity, Ethan, do you want to come? I happen to buy an extra ticket. Otherwise, it would just go to waste. I'd rather not be your third wheel. I'll just book a private screening for myself in a couple of days, I said, standing up and heading for the door. Chloe and Scarlett's faces turned ugly. They never expected me to say something like that. Ethan, what do you mean? What third wheel? You're not leaving until you explain yourself, Chloe said, her voice rising as she ran to grab my arm. Exactly. Scarlett rushed over too, tried to block my way. You know what we are to each other. One of us is going to be your wife eventually. I think you're just trying to make us mad. If you really push us away, it'll be too late to beg us to come back. Beg? In your dreams. I'm the one who knows how this story goes, remember? I shook off Chloe's hand and walked out, leaving the two of them staring at each other, speechless. So, ladies, are we going to the stables or the movies today? Leo asked, jogging after them with a hopeful smile. He was imagining them fighting over him, picturing himself gallantly soothing them by suggesting they do both activities. That would really seal the deal. You know what? Why don't you and Chloe go to the movies? I have some company business to take care of, Scarlett said, already eager to leave. She felt something was very wrong with me today. It wasn't just a lack of jealousy. It was a profound indifference that left her deeply unsettled. She decided she needed to find me and get a straight answer. I have work to do too. We can see the horses another time, Chloe said, thinking the exact same thing as Scarlett. They had grown up together, and their minds often worked in sync. After they spoke, they didn't even spare Leo a second glance before hurrying off. Leo was left standing there, frozen. This wasn't how he'd imagined it. Did he get wrong? He couldn't have. He had done everything exactly as his father had taught him. He'd have to go back and ask his father for the next move. As he thought this, his eyes filled with resentment. Those two gorgeous women and their fortunes. They all have to be mine. Enough time had passed. It was time to add some real fuel to the fire. So on Sunday afternoon, while Chloe, Scarlett, and Leo were watching TV in the living room, I strolled past them, my phone held to my ear. Yeah, today? Of course I'm free. I paused, pretending to listen to the person on the other end, a noticeable smile playing on my lips. That new fusion place is supposed to be incredible. I heard the rooftop table has a view of the entire Manhattan skyline. I've been wanting to check it out. I glanced at my watch, my smile widening as I softened my voice. Great. 7 o'clock. I'll pick you up. Finally, as if confirming the details, I added in a tone of playful intimacy. Okay. See you in a bit, Isabel. I hung up, the smile still lingering on my face as if I were lost in the pleasant memory of the call. Chloe, a piece of popcorn still pinched between her fingers, went rigid. Her face fell, a layer of frost settling over it. All the earlier relaxation from the movie gone. Scarlett's smile froze completely, her expression turning hideous as her sharp eyes locked onto my face. Leo just looked bewildered, stuck between the two of them, utterly lost. I gave him a detached nod, my version of a greeting, and headed straight upstairs. Behind me, after a few seconds of dead silence, I heard Scarlett's voice, strained with barely suppressed irritation. Leo, you're in the way. Then, the sound of her grabbing Chloe's arm. Chloe, this show is so boring. Let's go get some air. Leo was left alone in the room, standing dumbfounded. This time, he wasn't just ignored. He was yelled at for being in the way. At this rate, he'd be kicked out sooner or later. My fake date was like a depth charge dropped into still water. The effect was immediate. Chloe and Scarlett started to panic. These two girls, who were normally so confident, seemed to have lost their anchor. They subconsciously began to pull back from Leo. Chloe stopped initiating conversations with him, and Scarlett couldn't be bothered to cater to his feelings anymore. Leo, on the other hand, was being pushed to the brink. He could feel Chloe and Scarlett slipping away, but he couldn't accept that this was how things were supposed to go. Panic set in. He started trying to grab their attention again, but his methods became increasingly crude and pathetic. One morning, Chloe was walking through the garage alone, on her way to the backyard greenhouse. Leo was there with a rag, clumsily wiping down my bright blue Ferrari. When he saw Chloe, he slipped and fell flat on his butt. Ack! He yelped, struggling to his feet while clutching his rear, his eyes instantly welling with tears. I'm so stupid. Mister. Thorne had me out here before dawn to wash his car, and I went and twisted my ankle. Chloe stopped, frowning slightly as she took in his carefully disheveled appearance, then glanced at her watch. Her tone was clipped and impatient. Why are you so clumsy? There's a first aid kit in the house. Go ask Maria for some antiseptic spray. With that, she got her car and drove off without another look. Leo stood frozen, watching her car disappear down the driveway. The pitiful expression on his face shattered, leaving only humiliation and venom. A few days later, in a small sunroom, Scarlett was flipping through a fashion magazine by herself. Leo saw his chance. He crept over with a plate of sliced fruit. Scarlett, he began, his voice choked with emotion as he carefully set down the plate. Scarlett didn't even look up, just grunted in acknowledgement. The dam of Leo's rehearsed emotions burst. He dropped to his knees with a thud. Stop. Scarlett, I just feel so awful. Am I really that unlikable? I'm trying so hard to do a good job, to fit in, but I feel like everyone just sees me as an outsider. Especially Ethan. He lifted his tear-streaked face. I know my background isn't good, that I can't compare to Ethan, but the way he treats me, like I'm just a servant. Scarlett, will I ever be accepted? Should I even be here? He sobbed hysterically, painting himself as a poor, tragic figure, bullied and ostracized by the wealthy elite. Scarlett was startled by his sudden outburst, dropping her magazine. But something about what he said fell off. Ethan treated him like a servant. Well, wasn't he one? Still, seeing him cry so miserably, she felt a pang of pity, remembering how his father had been badly injured saving her. She frowned and offered a few perfunctory words of comfort. Okay, stop crying. Ethan's been in a bad mood lately. It's not about you. But Leo's performance only intensified, his accusations growing more extreme. I know he looks down on me. He's afraid I'll steal your attention. Chloe barely talks to me now. Scarlett, you're the only one who's still nice to me. But Ethan, he began to insinuate that I was bad-mouthing him behind his back, actively trying to push him out. Scarlett's brow furrowed deeper. She shot to her feet, her voice laced with an icy warning. Leo, get up. Crying like this, what kind of man are you? And what Ethan does or doesn't do is none of your business. I'm telling you now, learn your place. You are Mr. Miller's son, and Mr. Miller is the Thorne family's driver. Do the job you're hired for and stop spending your days lost in delusions, wanting things that don't belong to you. Do you understand me? Leo's sobs stopped abruptly, as if his throat had been squeezed shut. The blood drained from his face, leaving only terror and profound humiliation. He looked at the undisguised disgust in Scarlett's eyes and realized, for the first time, that he might have completely lost this trump card. Even worse, driven by desperation and resentment, he resorted to the clumsy tactic of trying to drive a wedge between them. While helping Chloe organize her art supplies, he'd let out a theatrical sigh. You know, Chloe, I think Scarlett has been getting really close to Ethan behind her back lately. I saw her at the tennis courts yesterday, handing him a water bottle. They were talking and laughing. I've never seen Ethan smile so happily. Chloe didn't say a word, but her dark expression and the way she gripped her paintbrush betrayed how much it bothered her. Then, he'd catch Scarlett during her afternoon tea, lowering his voice conspiratorially. Scarlett, I don't think Chloe has given up on Ethan. I personally saw her give him movie tickets yesterday, but she told me she was going to go with me. That's enough. If there's nothing else, you can leave. Scarlett cut him off, her voice sharp with irritation. After Leo left, Scarlett rubbed her temples in frustration. It was the first time she'd ever felt a hint of resentment toward her best friend. But such a cheap trick was bound to be exposed. The very next day, the moment the two girls met, Scarlett spoke, her voice dripping with sarcasm. So how was the movie? Must have been fun, sneaking out with Ethan behind your best friend's back. Chloe froze, then understanding dawned on her face. She shot back with her own mocking tone. Since when did my best friend learn to play the victim? What about you, playing the doting girlfriend on the tennis court, handing him water, wiping his sweat? That was just a coincidence. You inviting him to the movies was a calculated move, Scarlett retorted, though her voice lacked conviction. Don't give me that. We've been friends for over 20 years. You think I don't know you? It was your idea in the first place, to be nice to Leo, to make Ethan jealous, so he'd finally make a move on us. But now that it's not working, now that he's misunderstanding us, you're the first one to run back and try to win him over. Maybe that was your plan all along. Make him misunderstand me, so he'd choose you. Chloe's voice grew more emotional until, finally, she started to cry. Seeing Chloe like this, Scarlett felt a knot of guilt in her stomach. Their 20-year friendship wasn't a joke. She stepped forward and took Chloe's hand. We've been sisters for this long. Don't you know me by now? I said we'd compete fairly, and I don't play dirty. That day at the court was really a coincidence. I've been thinking about it too, and we really did go too far. We let Ethan get the wrong idea, but it's not too late to fix it. You're right. I think so too, Chloe nodded, wiping her tears. The first thing we need to do is fire Leo. Then we can focus on winning Ethan back. Deal. I'll talk to Leo tonight. Considering his father saved us, we'll give him a generous severance. Their conversation was overheard by Leo, who was hiding in the shadows. His expression shifted from disbelief to a cold, chilling rage. So, you were just using me as a tool all along. You burned the bridge the second you're across it. Fine. Then don't blame me for playing along with your little game. Meanwhile, I hadn't been idle. I'd sectioned off a piece of the backyard of our estate and was building a small, private animal sanctuary. Over the past few days, primates have been arriving from all over, even Africa. There were massive silverback gorillas, ferocious baboons, and mandrills with sharp fangs and claws. The girls, seeing me so busy and happy, came over to help. But when they saw the terrifying monkeys in the cages, they were too scared to get close. Ethan, there are so many cute monkeys in the world. Why did you get so many of these? These weird-looking ones. Perhaps one of the baboons heard her call it weird-looking, because it leaped at the bars of its cage, baring its teeth and screeching. Chloe screamed and ran out of the enclosure before she could even finish her sentence. Chloe's right. If you like them, we could get some golden monkeys. They're so gentle and cute. Gross. A silverback gorilla, currently in heat, began making a very graphic display. Scarlett's face flushed red, and she fled the sanctuary as well. Watching her leave, I couldn't help but smile. They had been clinging to me for days. I knew I had them right where I wanted them. All that was left to deal with was the Millers, father and son. It wasn't that I was refusing to give them a way out. It was that I knew the script. As long as they were alive, they would never stop scheming against the girls, and I would be caught in the crossfire. With that thought, my gaze shifted back to the animals in the cages. Let's start you two off with a little appetizer. Just as Chloe and Scarlett were about to fire Leo, he vanished. He was gone for days, his phone going straight to voicemail. But I knew exactly what he was up to. I'd had someone tailing him 24/7. In the original novel, the pathetic Ethan had given up everything and left town. So what if the girls went crazy afterward? Now that I was here, there could be no mistakes. Right now, Leo was holed up with his father, plotting their next move. This was their last chance. They decided to buy a powerful sedative mixed with an aphrodisiac from an overseas source. Once they forced the issue, the girls would have no other choice. Of course, my man was listening to every word of their conversation. When he reported back to me, a bold idea began to form in my mind. Leo returned after 2 weeks. His story was that he'd gone hiking with friends, fallen, and hit his head. When he woke up, he had amnesia. He'd been in the hospital this whole time and was brought home by his father, who reminded him he still had a job. As soon as he was well enough, he rushed back. His attitude toward Chloe and Scarlett had changed completely. Before, he was always clinging to them, playfully trailing after them. Now, he was respectful and distant, truly acting like he'd lost his memory. The girls were relieved and, at the same time, felt sorry for him. They decided not to fire him immediately and let him continue with his duties. That evening, the girls were in the living room, watching TV and chatting. Leo brought them both a cup of coffee and then excused himself. He hid in the shadows, watching them. It was after 11. Everyone else was asleep. It was the perfect opportunity. But half an hour after drinking the coffee, the girls showed no reaction at all. Didn't they say this imported stuff takes effect in 10 minutes and is incredibly potent? Leo wondered, confused but not ready to give up. He continued to watch until both girls went upstairs to bed without any sign of anything unusual. Just as he was about to head to his own room, someone threw a bag over his head and dragged him away. The truth was, the drugs weren't ineffective. I had simply had them switched out long ago. Half an hour earlier, the real dose had been administered to the primates in my backyard sanctuary. I sat in front of a bank of monitors, watching the footage. So brutal. These really are a bunch of animals. The next day, Leo was taken to the hospital. I went with Chloe and Scarlett to see him. He was out of the emergency room, but no matter what we asked, he just stared blankly at the ceiling, not saying a word. It's just awful. In all my years as a doctor, I've never seen a case like this, the attending physician said, shaking his head as he explained Leo's condition. The patient has lacerations all over his body, and his lower body. What about his lower body? I asked, my face a mask of concern. The damage was too severe. To prevent life-threatening infections down the road, we had to perform a complete removal. He's lucky to be alive. Please, you should all prepare yourselves. The doctor patted my shoulder, offered a few more words of condolence, and left. Just then, Mr. Miller came running down the hospital corridor, crying out. Seeing us, he fixed his bloodshot eyes on me. What happened to my son? I just got a call saying he was in the ER. He was fine. How could this happen? This is a tragedy for everyone, I said, patting his shoulder with a grave expression. He somehow wandered into the animal sanctuary last night. You know what? You should go in and see him. Here are my words, Mr. Miller staggered and fell to the floor. He scrambled back up and burst into the hospital room. 5 minutes later, a gut-wrenching scream echoed from within. Chloe and Scarlett looked away, their faces etched with pity. After all, he had been our driver for years and had even saved them. I didn't say anything. I just took their arms and led them out of the hospital. During the time Leo was hospitalized, my relationship with Chloe and Scarlett progressed by leaps and bounds. The original hero of the book, in my opinion, only got the girls' attention because the plot demanded it. He never really did anything for them, just passively accepted their affections without offering much in return. It wasn't until Leo showed up that he felt a sense of crisis, and even then, all he did was whine and complain before giving up and leaving. Frankly, I had no interest in any of the characters in that pathetic story. That kind of weak-willed protagonist deserved what he got. But I was different. Because I came from outside the story, I knew the truth. The girls had always loved me. The plot had just twisted them into a nonsensical scheme of trying to make me jealous by fawning over someone else. My only goal here was to have it all, love and a career. I was going to be the master of my own destiny. So when Chloe and Scarlett started showing me affection again, I responded. One night, there was a knock on my bedroom door. I opened it to find Chloe standing there in a sexy nightgown. Fresh from the shower, with no makeup on, she had a fresh, ethereal beauty. It's late. What's up? I asked, my eyebrow raised as I let my eyes trail up and down her body, playing dumb. Couldn't sleep. I was hoping to find someone to talk to. Are you free? I looked into her soulful, yearning eyes and answered without hesitation. Of course I'm free, but would just talking be a little too boring? As I spoke, I wrapped an arm around her waist and pulled her forcefully against me. I could feel the warmth of her body and smell the delicate scent of her skin. What else did you have in mind? She whispered, her cheeks flushing crimson. I want you. The question is, are you going to let me have you? I murmured into her ear, the warmth of my breath making her blush even deeper. You're a grown man. If you really want something, how could a weak woman like me possibly stop you? I'd be at your mercy. She buried her head in my chest. I scooped her up and carried her to the massive bed. I'll spare you the details you don't want to see anyway. After a night of talking, I woke up feeling sore all over. It was the first time I realized that talking could be such a strenuous physical activity. I glanced at the clock. Past 9. Time to get up and head to the office. I playfully slapped the ass of Chloe, who was still sleeping soundly beside me. Wakey, wakey, sleepyhead. Chloe just grunted and rolled over. I let her be. She needed her rest. I got dressed, and as soon as I opened my bedroom door, I saw Scarlett. She'd clearly been waiting for who knows how long. Her face was dark, her eyes wide and furious. Ethan, Chloe wasn't in her room this morning. Were you two together last night? I simply nodded toward my room, letting her see for herself. She walked to the doorway and saw Chloe asleep in my bed. I tried so hard to keep an eye on her, and she still slipped past me. I won't accept this cheap trick, she fumed, stomping her foot before storming off. A few days later, I went abroad on a business trip for 2 weeks. By the time I returned, Leo had been discharged from the hospital. He and his father were both back at the estate. Mr. Miller was still our driver, and Leo did odd jobs around the house. He was, for all intents and purposes, a broken man. To an outsider, it looked like we were being kind, letting him live here and be cared for. But I knew it wasn't that simple. The villains in these kinds of trashy novels are always pathologically obsessive. As long as they were breathing, they wouldn't give up. That was fine by me. It was easier to have them watched under my own roof than to worry about what they were doing out in the world. To that end, I had the entire estate fitted with hidden cameras and had someone monitoring the Millers around the clock. That night, I returned to my bedroom to find the lights off. A striking silhouette was sitting on my bed. I assumed it was Chloe, back for more after getting a taste. I didn't think twice. When I woke up the next morning, I realized it wasn't Chloe. It was Scarlett. She was nestled in my arms, a mischievous smile on her face. I don't care. You have to take responsibility for me now, too. Fine by me. I wasn't afraid of a little responsibility. This was my plan all along, and her throwing herself at me just saved me the trouble. When Scarlett and I walked out of my room together, we heard the sound of glass shattering behind us. We turned to see that Leo had dropped a tray of tea. He was staring at us, his eyes bloodshot, his entire body trembling. He looked like he just caught his own wife cheating on me. I ignored him, simply wrapping my arm around Scarlett's slim waist and tossing a single sentence over my shoulder as we left. Clean that up. Leo stood frozen, the sound of his teeth grinding together audible. Ethan, you bastard. You did this to me, and now you're walking around with a girl on each arm. I'll make sure you die a horrible death. As I expected, he couldn't hold it together. The next morning, while I was eating breakfast and scrolling through my phone, my security guy approached and whispered in my ear, "Sir, they're making a move." He handed me a tablet. On the monitor, I saw a shadowy figure slip into the garage before dawn, using a flashlight. Once inside, the figure flicked on the lights. It was Mr. Miller. He looked around nervously, then slid under my car. Half an hour later, he crawled out, looked around again, and vanished after turning off the lights. "Sir," I checked under the car. He loosened the brake line. "You wouldn't notice it at first, but he knows you're driving to Eagles Peak today. The roads up and down that mountain are all steep inclines. With constant braking, the line will fail." A small smile played on my lips. Talk about a gift horse. I was just wondering how to get rid of them, and he just handed me the solution on a silver platter. When Mr. Miller drove off with Chloe and Scarlett, I called Leo over. The emotion in his eyes was palpable, but I didn't care. Why waste energy on a dead man? "Chloe, Scarlett, and I are going to Eagles Peak for a photo shoot today. Take my car and drive the clothes and equipment up there first. Tell them I'll be there in a bit." "Fine," he hissed, practically spitting the word out as he snatched the keys. I tossed him. It was clear his father hadn't told him about the tampered brakes. A testament to a father's love, I suppose. Even if he was caught, he didn't want to implicate his son. And in doing so, he had just personally signed his son's death warrant. I deliberately phrased my request to provoke Leo. An emotional driver is a fast driver, and a fast driver would guarantee an accident. Sure enough, on the downhill slope from Eagles Peak, Leo, driving too fast, slammed on the brakes. They failed, and the car plunged off the cliff. That evening, Mr. Miller returned with Chloe and Scarlett. He walked behind them, head down, whistling softly. He was clearly in a good mood. But when he heard the girls call my name and run toward me, his smile froze on his face. He looked up sharply, and when he saw me sitting on the sofa, flanked by both women, his expression twisted into one of pure disbelief. "Yes, sir. You. What are you doing here?" he stammered. I feigned confusion. "If I'm not in my own home, where else would I be?" "Sir, didn't one of the staff drive you to Eagles Peak today?" "Oh, I didn't go. I had Leo take the equipment up for me." "Hey, now that you mention it, he's been gone all day. I wonder where he is." As I spoke, I watched Mr. Miller's face. His already pale complexion turned ashen. Beads of sweat popped out on his forehead. You're saying it was my son who went to Eagles Peak?" He was so distraught he forgot his manners, dropping the formal address. Is there a problem? I asked, my eyes cold, my voice flat. He suddenly snapped. He lunged at me, pulling out the only sharp object he had on him, his car key. It was you. You ruined him. You killed my son. I'll kill you. As Mr. Miller charged at me with his face contorted in rage, Chloe and Scarlett stood up to intervene. But before he even got close, I kicked him squarely in the stomach, sending him sprawling to the floor. You're going to try to kill me with a car key? You really don't think much of me, do you? I walked over and squatted down beside him. He was clutching his stomach, his face a mask of agony and resentment. I lowered my voice, so only he could hear. I knew about the brakes. That's right. I sent Leo on purpose. The person who really killed your son was you. Then I stood up and called for my security guards to drag him away, along with the evidence, and deliver him to the police. I turned to the two women, who were shaken by the sudden violence. I pulled them into my arms and explained everything. They still remembered that Mr. Miller had saved them and were about to ask me to show him some mercy. I just handed them my phone. The video playing on the screen was the result of my investigation. It showed Mr. Miller orchestrating the heroic car accident, a staged event designed to indebт our families and create an opportunity for his son. Chloe and Scarlett were no saints. Once they knew the truth, they immediately made a few calls, ensuring that Mr. Miller would be well taken care of in prison. Only then did I finally feel a sense of relief. All the threats had been eliminated, and by my side were two childhood sweethearts who were top tier in every respect. With my knowledge of the plot and the protagonist's halo now firmly on my head, my future in this world was destined to be legendary. One step at a time. Life was looking very, very promising.